This one is The Night Is Not For You by Eman Quotah. I think that's how you pronounce her name. I should have checked. I apologize for that. This one is about a man's body is found behind a corner store. His heart cut out, and the smell of perfume lingers in the air, leading locals to think the killer is a woman. Or maybe, if the rumors of hoof prints at the scene are true, something supernatural. Meanwhile, 7-year-old Layla is growing up, longing for a pet donkey, too young to understand the dangers that surround her as a girl growing up. Eman Quotah is a self-titled Arab-American author, and this is her debut novel. I was drawn to this one as a horror novel that revolves around folklore that I don't know much about, namely the female jinn Al-Duwais. Is that how you say that? Again, I apologize. Which is a half woman and half animal creature. It's a seductress who lures men to their deaths, a kind of boogeyman for wayward men out after dark, which I think is a really interesting sort of folklore figure. I didn't get into this book at all. It's not really horror. It's more of a coming-of-age story following Layla as she grows up and sort of comes out into a dangerous world for women. Interspersed into this are the murders of men that occur. And this just didn't match for me tonally because she's living in sort of like a normal real world and the murders felt like they were in a different genre, like they're written in this way that just didn't match. There'd be a killing and then I would want to know more about that, and you'd sort of start to lean into, is it a serial killer? Is it a creature? But then it would just move away and come back to this growing up story. And I just sort of ended up being not interested in either thing. It was just kind of jarring. It wasn't worked in really well. The other problem for me was that Layla is sort of written in this way that she's not like other girls. Because her reason for loving donkeys, in this book, she wants her own donkey, is that for her, they symbolize freedom and independence. And I just thought, what 7-year-old girl is dreaming of freedom and independence in that adult way? It's not how a 7-year-old is. She came across as quite spoiled to me, knowing that her father will give her anything she wants. She sort of seemed came across as a bit unlikable. And it was funny, her reason for being drawn to donkeys feels like the kind of thing you might attribute to a horse girl, like wanting, that unique relationship and wanting, freedom, independence, But because she's not like other girls, she's made to like donkeys. So, it just felt like a bit, I don't know. And don't get me wrong, I love donkeys. They are very, very lovely animals. They're very smart. They're very, very lovable. They are quite hilarious, honestly. But symbolically, I would think they're more associated with hard work, carrying heavy loads. They have a very compact strength. So they can carry like quite a heavy load for their size compared to other similar animals. And generally they're like assumed to be kind of stubborn and stupid. Not amongst horse people, just quietly, but I mean in a sort of more traditional sense. So I don't think they're really associated with freedom. So it just felt like, where did she get this idea that donkeys are associated with freedom and independence? And the other thing is, if you've ever met a donkey, they're such little characters. They're complete goofballs. I guess you could say they're independent thinkers because they're smart, but generally they're just not associated with that kind of, independence and defiance and stuff. So this just didn't work for me. It's like she's a horse girl, but she's not like other horse girls because she likes donkeys. Like as if being a horse girl is too feminine, and then feminine things can't be associated with intelligence, independence, positive qualities. That's fine, I guess. You guys, if you've read this book, you might disagree. Like you could make that case too, Personally, I find that you can care about your appearance and typically traditionally feminine things, so to speak, and also be an absolute powerhouse. So sometimes I get a little bit tired of this trope of characters being written this way, female characters being written this way. But, it's not my story. The author, was trying to make certain points, and that's fine. Um, yeah, I think the idea was fine. To have these scary, intense, violent things happening on the doorstep of a little girl growing up, I mean, that's a reality for a lot of people. So, like it was an interesting way to explore that. But I mean, the ending wasn't really satisfying. The book didn't really go anywhere. I felt like some of the feminist messaging was a little heavy-handed, but not bad. I liked the way the author used scent and smells throughout. That felt very evocative. But I just found it very hard to settle into this and read it. I kept finding myself sort of getting distracted, and I had to kind of, force myself to read it a little bit to finish it. And I felt like I knew where it was going after a while, and that's exactly where it did go. So this one just wasn't for me, really. Be interesting to see what the author writes next. So, is this one for you? Maybe if you want a coming of age book with some dark themes, I think, you could give it a try. The thing is, I don't think it will satisfy horror readers. And I don't think it will. I think it's going to be too murdery and dark and that kind of thing for coming of age readers. So I feel like sometimes you can cross genres, in these things, what can work really well. But I just feel like here it just didn't quite work for me. But thank you to Hachette Book Group Canada for the copy of this book for review. If you guys have read this one, or maybe know something about the subject matter, or want to tell me a story about a donkey that you know and love, come find me in the comment section, because I'm always love to hear from you guys. And thank you for watching.